Every now and then, the world slows down enough for us to ask a question we usually spend our entire lives running away from. Who am I? It is a deceptively simple question, the kind a child might ask before being distracted by a passing bird or a new game. Yet, if we sit with it quietly, without rushing to pull an answer from our memory or our education, it reveals itself as a gateway. Today, we will explore a path that walks directly through this gateway. It is a teaching left behind by Ramana Maharshi, a man who lived from 1879 to 1950, spending the vast majority of his life in the quiet, sun-baked town of Tiruvannamalai in southern India. To those who sought his counsel, and to the millions who have since found comfort in his recorded words, he is affectionately known as the Sage of Aranakula, named after the sacred, unchanging mountain at whose base he lived. Ramana's perspective was beautifully rooted in Advaita Vedanta, the ancient philosophy of non-duality. In its simplest terms, non-duality suggests that the separation we feel between ourselves and the rest of the universe is an optical illusion of the mind. It proposes that beneath our names, our anxieties, our triumphs, and our histories, our true nature is pure, eternal, and undivided consciousness. The primary tool Ramana offered to help people realize this truth for themselves is a practice called self-inquiry, or Atmavikara. Rather than asking us to adopt a new set of beliefs, memorize complex texts, or perform elaborate rituals, it invites us to do something far more direct, to look inward and gently trace the origin of the very first thought we ever had, the thought of I. Some scholars and practitioners consider this inquiry to be the absolute center of Ramana's work. However, because his compassion was vast and he spoke with deep respect on almost every spiritual discipline found across the globe, tailoring his advice to whoever sat before him, it feels more accurate and grounded to refer to this simply as one of his teachings. It is an open door, available to anyone willing to step through it. To understand what Ramana means when he asks us to look at the I, we first have to unpack a term he used frequently, the I thought. We tend to take our identity for granted, assuming that the I who wakes up in the morning, drinks coffee, goes to work, and worries about the future is a solid, continuous entity. But if we observe ourselves closely, we notice that this identity isn't as solid as it seems. It operates more like a mechanism. To see this mechanism in action, we only need to look at the daily miracle of waking up from deep, dreamless sleep. Think about the state of deepest sleep. In that space, your name does not exist. Your problems, your financial status, your gender, your nationality, and your personal history are completely absent. The body is still breathing, the heart is still beating, but the sprawling landscape of your personal identity has receded. In this deepest sleep, the I is not dead. It has simply returned to its seed form. The organs of action and the senses are resting. The vast, undivided expanse of what we might call I-ness, a pure sense of existence without borders, is also in a subsided state. Then, morning arrives. The transition from deep sleep to full waking reality happens in subtle, distinct stages, though it usually occurs so quickly that we miss the nuances. For a few fleeting moments as you emerge from sleep, the expanse of I-ness begins to stir. At this precise instant, there is no active I feeling. There is no sense of a person looking at a room. There is simply beingness. The boundary between the subject, the one who sees, and the object, the world that is seen, has not yet been drawn. A moment later, as the physical brain and its sensory organs fully go online, an intuitive, non-verbal I feeling bubbles up. It isn't a thought yet. It is a primal, wordless sense of presence. But with this feeling, a split occurs. The seamless fabric of reality divides into two: the seer, the internal I, and the seen, the external world. The world becomes a landscape of objects, and we become the observer of those objects. Finally, as the frontal lobe and the conceptual machinery of the brain fully awaken, the I thought takes center stage. This I thought is the great linker of all thought-based mental processes. It binds our memories of yesterday to our plans for tomorrow. It says, I am tired, I have a meeting at 9, or I am a person with these specific problems. For the rest of the day, This I thought acts as the manager of our lives, directing the body, navigating social landscapes, and generating a continuous stream of commentary until we finally slide back into sleep at night. Ramana's method is a gentle, reverse engineering of this entire process. It invites us to trace our steps backward. By observing the workings of daily, loud I thought using the technique taught by Sri Ramana, we can cause it to subside. When it quietens, we drop back into that intuitive, wordless I feeling. And if we stay with that feeling patiently, without grasping at any new thoughts, it eventually collapses back into its source, the boundless expanse of I-ness. This is what Eastern traditions call the sahaja state, a natural, unforced state of being where the rigid duality between the seer and the seen dissolves. They are recognized as two sides of the very same coin, rising and falling together in a single, quiet ocean of beingness. Before we can comfortably sit down to practice this technique, it helps to clear away some of the mental clutter. If we are going to ask the question, "Who am I?" we should look at the answers our minds naturally throw at us and test their validity through simple, calm reasoning. To find the truth, we must be willing to look at what we are not, stripping away the borrowed clothing of identity until only the essential remains. The physical body. The most immediate answer the mind offers is, "I am this body." It feels obvious. We feel our skin, we see our reflection, and we experience physical pain and pleasure. But let us look closer. If a person loses a limb in an accident or undergoes a heart transplant, do they become someone else? Is a fraction of their fundamental I-ness gone? Of course not. They remain entirely themselves. Even more profoundly, neurological history shows us that individuals can survive for years with significant portions of their brain damaged or non-functional. Their capabilities change, their memories might fade, but the core sense of existence, the fact that they are, persists. The body changes, ages, loses parts, and regenerates cells, yet the I remains steady. The body is something we possess and experience. It cannot be what we fundamentally are. The archive of memory. Seeing this, the mind might retreat to a more subtle position. If I am not the body, then surely I am my memory. I am the sum total of my experiences, my childhood, my triumphs, and my learnings. But a moment of reflection reveals a flaw here too. Memory is an accumulation. It is a collection of mental snapshots gathered over time. Because the I is the one who accumulates and remembers these experiences, the I must exist prior to the memories themselves. If you wake up tomorrow with total amnesia, unable to recall your name or your past, you do not cease to exist. You are still there, experiencing the confusion of having no memories. Therefore, you cannot be the archive. You are the one looking at the archive. The intellect and emotions. What about the intellect, then? Surely we are our ability to reason, to calculate, and to think critically? Again, we find that the intellect is a variable instrument. It can be sharp in the middle of the day and dull when we are exhausted. It changes throughout different phases of our lives, growing through education and sometimes declining with old age. Yet, whether the intellect is operating at peak performance or struggling to focus, the underlying sense of I is unaffected. The intellect is a magnificent tool, but like a hammer or a paintbrush, it is used by the I. It is not the I itself. The same logic applies to our emotions, our imaginations, and our willpower. We have all experienced anger, sorrow, joy, and bursts of creativity. We see these emotional states arise like weather patterns across the sky. They stay for an hour or a day, and then they drift away. Because we can watch our emotions come and go, we cannot be the emotions. They are simply movements within the brain's complex circuitry, witnessed by something deeper. The senses and the mirror of duality. Finally, we might look at our internal and external sense organs. Am I the eyes that see, the ears that hear, or the internal neurological centers that process thoughts? No, because these two are instruments. They are the hardware through which the world is perceived. If all sensory inputs were suddenly turned off, if we found ourselves in a state of absolute sensory deprivation where there was no sound, no light, no taste, and no tactile sensation, what would happen to the eye? This is exactly what happens in deep sleep. The world vanishes, the senses shut down, and yet, when we wake up, we know we were asleep. Something was present to bridge the gap between yesterday and today. When we follow this line of reasoning to its logical conclusion, the mind arrives at an intriguing paradox. It might try one last trick, suggesting, perhaps I am the seer of the scene, the hearer of the sound, or the watcher of thoughts. But let us explore that relationship. Can a seer exist without anything to see? Can a hearer exist without a sound? They are interdependent. A sound and a hearer emerge together as a single phenomenon and disappear together. When there is nothing to witness, the concept of a watcher also dissolves. So what is the I? The truth is, this question cannot be answered by the mind. Any answer the mind provides will inevitably be about something that emerges and disappears, a thought, a feeling, an image, or a concept. Therefore, the most profound step in this preparatory reasoning is to simply, gently, reject every single verbal answer the mind provides.